Realtors, even appraisers, firmly in the crosshairs, but my next guest says the real bad guy here is the borrower. So who's the person with the guts to go after the little guy? Columnist Rob Asghar. Here he is. Rob, you better make your case for us, please, because I haven't heard many people pointing the finger of blame at the little guy. Make your case.
Thanks, Stuart. Basically, I would say that in a democracy, we have to remember that the little guy is the boss. And I mentioned in my column today that if you look at, say, Pakistan, where you've been talking about it all hour, that we're trying to convince the people in Pakistan that you can trust the little guy with his decisions. You can trust the little man in the things that count. And when you look at what's been happening, sure, lenders, such as the lender that I worked at, we all attempted to meet needs. Sure, Wall Street attempted to do things. Everyone is attempting to meet this subprime need that was driven by the borrower. And I haven't heard a lot of people say, did the borrower really do enough due diligence on his part? Did the borrower actually look into the situation and say,
Rob.
do I need to be spending this money?
Let me give you the following example. Someone goes in to get a loan and they get a very low interest rate for the initial period. Then the interest on that loan bumps way up by 6, 7, 8 points all of a sudden. And if they try to get out of it, they've got a huge prepayment penalty. Now, some of those loans, they are predatory loans, and they could not be made explicable. You can't explain this to the ordinary borrower. I put it to you, that's a case of predatory lending. The borrower is just the dupe in the situation and not to blame.
Well, what I'd say is that, you know, you saw the spam that you got in your email account. You saw the mailings you got constantly. You got the phone calls or the recorded phone messages from people saying, come to us, we can get you out of trouble. And I think some of those people acted in bad faith. There were brokers who acted in bad faith. But by and large, the point I was making is that most lenders were at least as responsible as the borrowers. The fact of the matter is that I don't think there were many lenders out there telling people, don't worry, if you go into an option arm, it'll always be painless. We're never making that case. I think that, did the borrower ever ask himself, am I using my home like an ATM? Am I not saving enough for the future? Am I really thinking about this the way I might have 20 years ago when America had a positive kind of a savings level, not a negative one like we have now?
Well, maybe the heart of the matter here is that America wanted to extend home ownership as far as possible. That's a worthy goal, even if the people being shoehorned into the homes couldn't really afford it. But you have to agree, that's America. You and I are both born overseas. This is America. That's what it's all about. It's extending the dream to as many people as possible.
Now, I would actually disagree there. No, I personally, while I worked in an industry where it was amazing in terms of the compensation levels for some of the people, the kinds of parties we had, all those kinds of things. It was an incredible life while we claimed we were funding the American dream. At the same time, I've never owned a house myself. I felt like homeownership can be a trap in some ways. For myself, for job flexibility, for things like that, I chose to rent. Now, there was an article in the December issue of Atlantic Monthly by Clive Crook who mentioned that homeownership might not be the best thing for America, for that pioneering spirit that comes from geographic mobility. I think there's a lot of conventional wisdom, a lot of groupthink going on. In the end, I don't believe that, the main thing is I don't believe the government should be in the position of bailing out these borrowers who chose to bite off more than they can chew, and I'm not even sure the government should be in the business of really making homeownership a top goal.
I put it to you that in an election year, your point of view, blaming the voter for this problem, blaming the little guy, is just not gonna fly.
Well, that's one reason why I have not chosen to announce my candidacy, because I know that it's a contrarian position.
I admire a man
but I do feel that...
Rob, I admire a man with a very good sense of humor, and I like your perspective. And we thank you very much for joining us today, sir. Much obliged to you.
Thanks, Stuart.
Thank you. Pepperoni, pizza, politics?